Good morning. This is Crystal with Whole New Perspective. I would like to send out my prayers to everyone that's affected with the hurricane. I want to pray for all of the families. We continue to see 100-year storms, 100-year droughts, floods, fires, and I believe that we will continue to see these things. So I do just want to continue to offer my prayers. I want to thank you all for supporting my channel, supporting me. If you haven't done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. Today, we're talking about weather. So one of the things that we know is that food and energy are key drivers of inflation. So now you want to know if you'll see any type of relief by the end of the year, and that really does depend largely on the weather. See, the weather is going to determine the size of harvest that we have, and not only in the U.S. but around the world. It's also the amount of natural gas that we need to heat our homes for the winter. Think about the hurricane that just came through, the 100-year floods. On Thursday, I went to my local farmer's market, and I was talking to one of my farmers, and this is in an area that we were supposed to get, 3 to 6 inches of rain. And around October, I like to go to the farmer's market and I like to purchase my year's worth of sweet potatoes. And the farmer, actually, they'll dig them, but they won't wash them or anything. And so I can store them for the winter, and they last me about a year. So I was at the farmer's market talking to one of the farmers that I normally purchase from, and he was very concerned about the rain that we were going to get. He did have some sweet potatoes already dug, but most of his sweet potatoes, he said, were still in the field. And he was very concerned about the amount of water on the sweet potatoes. He said that they would crack if it was too much water. And then he also had concerns of being able to get the farm equipment out with all the mud. And so he was preparing to dig as many sweet potatoes as he could on Friday. And so I do have his number, reach back out to him. I'll go to the farmer's market again and have a conversation with him. And I may bring you all along with me, but weather is a huge dynamic as it relates to our food and our food sources. Then we go to another extreme, drought. Drought is affecting about 40% of the country. It's affected it over the last 2 years. And because of the drought, we are expecting a lot less yields of corn, wheat, rice, potatoes, tomatoes, and so many other things. Corn is a key crop because it's used in so many things in our food supply chain. We eat the corn, we feed the corn to our livestock, and our livestock becomes meat. So corn I spent some time at one of our local food production companies, and actually we talked about the drought and asked how that affected them in their business. They are a very large food product producing company. And we see their products all over the stores. And we asked about the drought and if they had concerns about the drought. And yes, they're very concerned about it. Most of their food production comes from California, and they talked about the concerns. Now, they did talk about being able to produce food to grow food in other states other than California. California was the best place to grow with the weather. The climate there was just the best to grow a lot of our food. So they don't really don't get a lot from overseas. Most of it does come locally. So some good news is that it is forecasted to be a milder fall. So which means that we won't need to use our natural gas, our propane. So that's a positive. That means that it'll last longer in the winter. If it's a rainy season, a rainy fall, the issue with that would be that the farmers would need a lot more propane to dry out their crops. So, hopefully in those areas, it'll be a drier fall. About everywhere you look on the news, on YouTube for sure, you see a lot of people saying, go ahead and stock up on your food supplies. I will definitely agree. But one of the things I will also say while you're stocking up on your food is to make sure you seek out your local farmers. Seek out your local farmers. If you haven't done so, start going to your farmers markets and talking to those farmers. They are a wealth of knowledge. They can, if you have a relationship with them, you don't have to be as concerned about what's going on in the stores. You will be able to get food from them. And that is whether you're going for your vegetables, your meats. Make sure you develop the relationships. During 2020, 2021, I wasn't concerned about the meat shortages that were in the stores because I have a relationship with local farmers and I have quite a bit of meats. I actually canned a lot of meats as well, and I continue to do that. So it's very important that you make friends with your local farmers. If you can do so, start a garden. I garden in containers. I have a hydroponic system, an aero garden, and no, not by any means am I self-sustainable with that, but it does help. A little bit of spinach here, a little bit of potatoes there, some tomatoes. Those things help. So if you have not done so, consider growing a few things of your own. Get you some seeds and some dirt. There are so many people on YouTube that will show you how to do that. I follow the New Orleans gardener, Linda. She is excellent at that, and she shows you how she does it. Look for someone that's in your area. I have container crops in my area, so I follow her. She gardens in containers, and it's important that you learn to grow things before you have to grow things. I grew up with my family having a very large garden. As kids, we harvest the garden. We chopped, cut, peeled, shucked, everything we needed to do. My mom was a large canner, and so she preserved everything that she could back then. And it was just a different time. People shared their harvest with each other, whether you were sharing your turnips, your turnip greens, and we made use of everything that we had. And that's another thing, use what you have. And if you're shopping in the grocery stores, look for deals, look for sales. I was in Publix and I went to their clearance rack and they had the Italian green beans on clearance. It was 45 cents a can. And so I purchased that. I will eventually use it. And that's another thing. Make sure that you are rotating all this food that you are storing. People are saying store it to the rafters. And make sure that you are rotating that stored food. Make sure that you like what you have purchased and that you're going to eat what you have purchased. Oftentimes people purchase all these things and they end up, expiring. Now, yes, you can eat food after it is expired. Just be careful though with what you're eating after it has expired. So I do purchase food in bulk. If you go back, you'll see that. So I do have plenty of grains, plenty of beans, corn. I have many of these things. And so I'm really not concerned for me and my household. And just want you to go ahead and get the things that you need. What I will also say is that people are starting to go into debt at a higher number again, using credit cards to purchase things. Be mindful of that. If you don't have to do that, don't do that. Try to pay off the debt that you have. Now, look for these sales. I think I'm hearing that there are a lot of sales in October here in, Christmas in October. And so a lot of places are having big sales. Now, if you need something, get it. And if you're a person that has the things that you need and then you just want something, look for those deals as well. So listen, get the things that you need. If you need extra blankets, get those blankets, the things that's going to keep you warm, keep you full, and continue to pray for guidance. Listen, thank you so much for coming along with me as I had this little conversation. If you haven't done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. Please give this video the thumbs up. Leave me any comments that you would like to do so. And again, thank you very much. Continued prayers for all of those that are affected by all these storms, all the fires. Continued prayers.